I always talk about, okay, like if you have a business idea or something you want to do, I take the model of going ready, aim, or ready, fire, aim. Okay. So instead of ready, aim, fire, you're ready. Okay. You got your plan and you're just going to fire away.
Yeah.
And as you're firing, you're slowly aiming. But instead of being ready, aim, 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 and then fire a year later.
Or not fire.
Or not fire. Dude, it's like fire and figure it out as you go. That's the whole process of life.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Weapon X Holsters. Quality handmade Kydex holsters made right here in Southern Utah. You can stop by the store, 1397 West Sunset Boulevard, number 115 in St. George, Utah. Hey guys, welcome back to the Derek Lake Podcast. We're back in the vault again today. This is episode 117. We've got a local entrepreneur and an OG of the St. George podcast gang. I'm excited for our guest today. This is Kaden Terry. What's going on, man?
Dude, doing awesome, man. So pumped to be here, man. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm excited. We were just talking about your podcast and how long you'd been doing it. And I guess it's because you had that break through the mission of why it seemed like it was fairly new to me. But you've been doing it forever. So tell me a little bit about the podcast, why you do it.
You just made my day as we were talking about that because, like, to be honest with you, like, podcasting is so hard and it takes a lot of work over time. So I've just been grinding, putting content out there, trying to inspire people. And to hear you say, like, dude, like, I think you're one of the first people to start a podcast in St. George, but continually do it, right? Along with the real business owner. So I started it in January of 2019, right? Or it might have been 2018. I need to go back and look. But since then, I've done 67 episodes. So it's called The Psychology of Success. I interview entrepreneurs and professional athletes and leaders in the nation and share that knowledge with my young hustlers. So it's all about helping young hustlers actualize their infinite potential that God has given them, that they have inside of them. We just help them unlock it and realize it. So I've interviewed a lot of the same people you have. It's been amazing. The owner of Bucked Up, I interviewed Justin Prince, a couple of professional athletes, like just so much fun.
Our girl Z.
Yeah, that's right. Z Dixon. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's so inspiring. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like we were talking to, it's the network thing for me that I wasn't thinking about when I started. And it kind of just went from a place of I can reach the most people by doing it. And I didn't really have I still don't have like a plan for the podcast, right? Like we were actually talking about the other day. I'm like, when you start a podcast, do you just stop when you die? Like how far do you go, you know? And so I don't know, the network that I have, you couldn't put a dollar amount on it.
Oh, no chance. Like it's the same for me. So that's part of the inspiration for starting the podcast. Okay. So I was listening to, and we'll get into the other side of it with my heart surgery story, but I was listening to a podcast. I forgot the guy's name. His name's Drama from Fantasy Factory, Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah.
So he had a podcast and he was in the same thing that you and I do, interviewing successful people. And I remember on one of the episodes, he said, like, for anyone listening out there, like, I don't understand why you don't start a podcast, because it gives you an excuse to meet with highly successful people that you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to meet. And right then and there, it clicked for me because I had always had a passion for learning and self-development, entrepreneurship, business. But it was kind of awkward asking people like to lunch or saying, hey, can I have 30 minutes of your time? And the podcast was just a flipping excuse to meet these people I looked up to.
And people are like, you have a podcast? Yeah, I'd love to come on it.
And funny enough, like literally, I don't have my phone. I would just use my phone. So it's called the Anchor app. Now it's, I think, Spotify for podcasters. I literally would just open the app, click play, and use the mic from my iPhone to record. Like if you guys go back, I can't even do it now, but if you go back and listen to my first like 5 or 6 episodes, they were so cringy. It sounds like I haven't even hit puberty yet because I probably hadn't. And like the mic is super bad because it's my flipping phone. But the whole principle was that I got started and got going and stayed consistent besides my mission. Took a pause for that. But since then, like since I've been home, I haven't missed a week.
That's awesome.
I've recorded the podcast. We're about to, I think by the time this releases, it'll be about 70 episodes.
Dang.
Yeah.
And so you started in high school? Is that what you'd said
Yes.
earlier? So you were
Yes.
in high school and started a podcast.
Yeah, I was 16. Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
See, that's what I love about it is like most people don't do things because of that fear, right? And so people have a hard time getting over that step. And as a 16-year-old, I mean, let's see, we've been doing it almost 3. So I was like 31 when I started mine. And so like I had done some things before, got over that fear part, but you're jumping right in at 16.
Yeah, it was scary for sure. Like
Yeah.
I just remember the nerves, like holy crap, like, and I sound nervous on the camera. But now I've developed that skill of talking with people and being comfortable, and that applies to so many areas of life. Like it's amazing. Like it's just getting out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
helps so much.
Well, and how many people were like, "Oh, Caden's doing a podcast," right?
Yeah. In high school, totally, it totally happened. They're like, "Dude, why are you doing this?" Right? But I had the vision, and I knew if I stayed consistent, I would have so many opportunities. So I've had a lot of the people I've interviewed reach out to me wanting to do business together or different things, right? Because we had the connection, and otherwise we wouldn't have that without
Right.
the podcast. And it makes people feel special too when they see posts on Instagram about them talking and sharing their story. So it just amplifies
Right.
the influence.
Well, like when we started, and dude, when we did this on a little different scale, you've got more cojones than I do. Like I didn't know that whole world. Like how do you even start a podcast? You know, luckily I was on Jefferson Rogers. We've been friends. We were friends before. I knew he started one, so I kind of forced my way into being on his. And so, hey man, if you ever need someone in short notice, hit me up, you know? And that's where I met Mallory. And then when I knew that there were people that did that side of it, which is now Blue Form Media with Mallory and Blake, that's where I was like, okay, I can sit and talk, but like the rest of that, you guys go handle. But yeah, going back to like the network you're putting in, we said it right before we got on. There are multiple people that have been, I mean, I could sit here and name them for the next 20 minutes that have been on my podcast that I have no business even being in the same room as. And that's where it's became so valuable to me. And they're, especially when they come in here and they see the studio and they see everything that we're doing to put it together. And then you see the clips online, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I had one, and I've brought just like buddies on and stuff too. And they've seen like quotes, like a post would just be like
So cool.
and they're like, dude, someone quoted on Instagram,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Or I have a buddy that his daughter, every time they see when he was on and when they would see me and him on, they'd be like, Dad, you're on YouTube. You're a YouTuber, you know? And so there is also other perks to it. And I don't want to suck all of our time up on the podcast. I mainly just wanted to kind of hopefully pull my audience to you and be able to connect our audiences together.
Yeah, totally. So that's what it's all about, is inspiring young hustlers. So if you're a young guy or girl, ages probably 14 to 30, that is what we specialize in. All right, so we bring in these big time entrepreneurs that have created success, and we ask them those questions. Say, hey, if you were a young hustler right now, what would you do different? We just dive into that every single week. Absolutely love it. So
okay, let's talk about your shirt. So Binblasters, dude. Tell me how that came about.
Yeah.
And it's a franchise opportunity, right?
Yes.
Maybe jump through that, dude. How'd you even come about it? Why did you get into it? Was there someone that told you? How'd that work?
Totally. Okay. Fun story. So I think it was 2019, my dad was approached by a potential business partner. He said, hey, I have this idea. I've seen these garbage can cleaning trucks that grab the cans, lift them upside down, and spray them out with boiling hot water to kill all the bugs. And then it collects all the dirty water into the truck. And he said, hey, we should do it. And so basically he partnered with my dad, Steve. And just a little side note, my dad, Steve, has been the biggest mentor of my life. He has given me so many opportunities with business. He's done so many different things with entrepreneurship and has just brought me along. And because of that, I've had so many opportunities. So with that, he got it going in Provo, the first location, okay? And then that was going great. And they decided to start franchising it. So my brother Kyler, who's on a mission right now, actually in the Marshall Islands, him and I we bought the rights for St. George. So we bought the franchise rights for St. George, right? So we brought it here and we got it going in about October of last year. So it's been just about a year now of running it. Been the biggest learning experience. It has been such a grind. Crazy. But we have become the fastest growing location in Binblasters because we've just put so much time and energy into it, and we've scaled it like crazy, right? And so what happened was the CEO, Casey, you'll see him on TikTok. He's all over, and you'll start seeing me on our page too now. But he needed help scaling the business, right? Because it was basically just him running it.
Yeah.
And so he saw what we had done in St. George. And so he said, hey, what if you came on and started selling franchises and training all the new franchisees? So that's what I'm doing now. So with this St. George location, we're working on selling it, right? So that I can focus all of my time on Binblasters corporate. So I'd still be involved with Binblasters, right?
Yeah.
Making royalty off of that location and all the other locations. But now my 10x jump is to Binblasters franchising, right? So right now I've learned so many different things and had so many different experiences with running a garbage can cleaning business. I've found what works and what doesn't work. And I've compiled that, and I've created a whole online course basically for our new franchisees. For example, there's a guy in Canada that I'm working with right now that's about to buy Binblasters. And once he buys it, I'll fly him out to Utah and we'll train him on our truck. But even before that, I have a whole online course that goes through what I've learned and what works and what doesn't work. And I teach him. So that's my role now. I call people. I mean, it's so much fun because every day people see our TikToks and I get messages saying, hey, I want a Binblasters. And so I haven't filled the application and I have that whole process laid out. So that's my focus now.
And you've developed all that.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah. It has been so much work. So much. Because you think of everything like, okay, like if someone buys a Binblasters franchise, they want to be told everything that they need to do.
As they should. Like the franchisor wants to keep, their reputation tied up too.
Yeah. So it's two ways.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they go under, that makes us look
exactly
bad. Because in the franchise documents, it's called the FDD. It says did you have any franchisors or franchisees go out of business? And we have to list them, and we have to list why, and we have to list their contact information, right? So if Derek goes and buys a Binblasters and it tanks, and I try and sell to this guy in Canada, I'm going to send him the paperwork, and he's going to be like, okay, Derek started a Binblasters, but after a year it tanked, and he got out of it. I'm going to give Derek a call and see what's up. So that holds me accountable, and the rest of the Binblasters team like, dude, we got to have our crap together.
Right.
So we're in that process of laying the groundwork. Right now we're at 9 franchise locations.
Dang.
So much fun. Utah, Arizona, and Illinois. So cool. So right now we're just grinding, trying to put together this whole onboarding process, right? To where I have it all laid out, the first 30 days, exactly what you need to do to create a successful Binblasters location. Well, it's my passion.
I was going to say, what's cool, dude, is you can probably manipulate that into almost anything, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, just having those, all the SOPs down of how to do it all.
Yes.
I love that, dude, because me, like, I've talked about it on here before, like, I'm not a checklist procedure, open and close, here's how you do every step guy. Mm-hmm. Every business I've had, I've been the guy, and there's no one else, and I've had to just figure it out. And so to me, 3 years down the road, it's like, well, yeah, obviously when you open the door, you turn the open sign on, mm-hmm. or when there's nothing to do, you mop the floors. And like I'm talking about my store now, right? Like you clean the safes, mop the floors, wipe the windows. But that's not common sense to someone that hasn't ran it for 3 years.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's something I struggle with of going through, and I've actually started making like a dry erase board checklist thing on when you open and close the store. Uh-huh. And my mom actually helps me out a lot at the store too right now. Good. I mean, Abe Gardner. Yeah. So Abe just barely moved on. He's doing his own landscaping stuff.
That's what he's telling me.
Yeah.
Good.
He was actually in my neighborhood when I was on my way here. I was like honking at him as I was going by.
Good.
Yeah, so she's there. She's kind of trying to help me put these lists together because I'm not good at it. And when how old are you?
20.
Damn, dude, you're impressive. And so like, I was not that at 20, dude. So anyway, the Binblaster thing's awesome. If if someone's in, I was going to say Southern Utah, but really anywhere you guys are franchising now, and you have a Pulse, I'm sure you've seen the Binblasters either driving around or on social media.
Oh,
so
yeah, it's all over.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested, I mean, we just opened back up franchising. We paused it for a second, but now it's back open.
And is that like binblasters.com? Or
Yeah. So you can go to binblasters.com or binblastersfranchising.com, and you can book a call with me. In fact, it might be a Binblasters franchise. We'll link it, and you guys will see it. But yeah, let's talk.
That's awesome, dude. So, I mean, right there. So if someone is interested in a business, Kaden's already laid out the entire thing for you. Just follow step 1, step 2, step 3, put up the money for the franchise, get the truck, and you're off and rolling. So was that your plan all along? It sounds like the franchise thing kind of got brought to you, but
see, it wasn't, dude.
Right.
That's what's okay. So here's the thing, but I've been trying to find, okay? Because with life, I feel like I've been placed on this earth to inspire other people, okay? And so what I've learned from other books, to find a career, you want to find something, number 1, that you're proficient in, number 2, that you're passionate about, and number 3, what the world needs, okay? So I'm super passionate about business, self-development, leadership, inspiring, coaching, right? It fires me up.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm decently good at it too. Still learning quite a bit, but I've done that through the podcast over the years. I've gotten a lot more confident, and I've learned, okay, like I think this is something that I could really do. And then as I got more into Binblasters and started talking with members of my Winner Circle mastermind, I realized that there's a huge need for business opportunities for young hustlers. And I saw this come up with Binblasters and thought, holy crap, like this is the perfect opportunity, because now I'm basically a success coach for new franchisees, and I hold their hand and I walk them through the whole process and inspire them, coach them, and just help them out. But it wasn't like that at first, right? And I'm still not sure if that's 100% like where I need to be, but right now I'm all in on that.
Yeah.
Because all growing up, I've done all kinds of different businesses, just testing things out. Like I did some, I guess just to start from the beginning, like I started flipping these little necklaces, like the baseball necklaces.
Yeah.
I'd buy them cheap from China and then sell them at these little league games, right? Did that, and then later on, when I was 14, started a mobile detailing business, sold that after 2 years because we started making more money flipping cars. So buying, selling cars, did that all through high school before my mission. And then while I was doing that, got into some Airbnb stuff, took an online course on how to run Airbnbs, loved it. Took another course on how to do social media marketing, stuff like this. I mean, this is incredible here at Blueform Media. I tried it and I was not good at it. So then I stopped, right? I was doing it for car dealerships. It was called Get Cars Sold LLC. Was not good at it, so I pivoted.
Yeah.
But slowly I've learned what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at. And when that opportunity with Binblasters came up, I was all in with it. So it's been quite the journey, because it's frustrating for me, like growing up and trying so many different things. So I was like, oh my gosh, like what do I actually need to do? What should I focus on? Because I feel like I'm chasing 20 rabbits, but not getting any. But I feel like recently, like I've told myself, no, like that's okay to do, especially when you're young, because you're finding what you're good at and what you want to go into. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
yeah.
I was like, you're supposed to do that, I think.
Oh, totally. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I'd beat myself up all the time about it. But it's so cool seeing that God has given me this opportunity now. And so I'm just going to go all in with it.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it's like you had said, it's the talents that you've put together that got you those opportunities and those conversations. And that's, I mean, really the proof's in the pudding right there on everything that you've already done at 20, right? Like everything you've already put together. So I love that story. What about, I want to talk Winner Circle, dude. And I might spend a little bit of time on this.
Oh, let's do it.
For like selfishly for me, because I'm curious at how it got started, how it's going, what the plan is. So maybe tell everyone what it is real quick. And then I've kind of got some questions I want to jump into.
This is so cool, guys. Like,
okay, everyone remember, he's 20. Okay. That's what I love about this. Like people on audio that can't see, the video of how old he is.
Yeah.
This guy's 20 years old. Now tell me what you put together.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. I was at Brody Fawcett's, he put on a goal setting retreat in January. It was right when I got back from my mission. So I was so kind of out of it. It was kind of funny. But I go there and we set our top 10 goals for the year. And one of the goals, I thought, okay, like I want to create a psychology success mastermind. I didn't quite know what that meant, but I made that goal and I knew that I'd hit it this year. Right. So I put that into my mind and just kind of kept working, kept doing what I was doing. But then as I was doing the podcast, I had so many people reaching out saying like, oh my gosh, like I listened to your podcast and I started a mobile detailing business because of it. Like you inspired me. And I was like, holy crap, like really? Like you're actually listening to my podcast?
Yeah.
Like I've been doing this for the past 3 years, haven't made any money. Like really, like you find value from this? They're like, yeah. And I just kept getting those messages. And as I met with people, as I attracted these young hustlers in my life, they would almost open up to me and say, dude, it's like so hard to find people in this world that understand the hustle and that want to improve their lives, and they don't want to just party all day and drink and do all the crap that 20-year-olds do.
Right.
Right. It's rare to find that. But for me at that time, I was so used to my circle then that it was just normal to be around those young hustlers. So when they started giving me that problem, I thought, okay, how can I solve that? And I had always loved going to masterminds and big events. It has just totally 10x my life. The thing is, they're pretty expensive. So young hustlers, a lot of times we can't afford it.
Yeah.
So I thought, holy crap, we might have a problem that we could solve. So I remember Trevor Cowley, when I was on their podcast, you guys can go listen to this, The Real Business Owners. He told me, he said, dude, you need to change your podcast, because in the beginning, it was just general about success. He's like, you need to do it to where it's more centered on younger entrepreneurs, hustlers. Okay, do that and you'll grow your show. And at first I was like, I don't know. Like I didn't do anything about it. But then I get back from my mission. I'm like, okay, I want to take Trevor's advice and actually get after it. I want to start going after young hustlers specifically. So I brought in a new business partner, Kaden Terry, who does all of my media stuff. He's been such a big help. He has totally changed the whole trajectory of my podcast and brand. So he started making all these videos and highlighting all these hustlers. And specifically the people I interview is more centered on the young hustlers. So here's what happened. We had the idea, we're like, okay, like we've been to these events. Like what if we just duplicated it? So I reached out to Trevor Cowley and I was like, dude, can we go to lunch? I want to meet with you. So we met and I said, okay, how do you do your masterminds? Tell me about it. And I pitched him my idea about the winner circle. And I was like, I see this problem that all these young hustlers have. They want to be around people like you, but they can't afford it.
Yeah.
What can I do about that? And so we walked through some problems and solutions. And I was scared because I was like, man, like the opportunity's there, but are people actually going to come? Right? I had to put up thousands of dollars to rent the venue, get food, all this, and just pray that people would buy tickets. Okay. So we knew the problem was there. So we thought, okay, let's test it. Let's do tickets for pretty cheap, right? And basically break even on the event.
Yeah.
So what we did, we charged $200, or it might have been $200 or $300, and we rented. Here's what it was. So we took everyone golfing in the morning at Coral Canyon, split them up into groups. It was a 2-man scramble, and then we took them all back. We had breakfast there. And it was cool because we gave them these little like swag bags. So we gave them all a hat. I should have worn the hat, Psychology Success hat. You'll see it. Gave them a custom journal and these little baseball cards that has their face on it. You'll see it on my Instagram. But on the back side, it has basically their stats. It has what businesses they've started, what issues they're trying to solve in their business, and what their superpowers are. Phone number, contact info. So basically a business card. So they'd go around and they'd trade these business cards at the event.
Dude, what a cool idea.
And they'd see, okay, you know what? Like Derek, he's trying to find a way to scale his business. And actually, that's my strength. I'm really good at scaling business. Let me go talk to Derek and let's network together. And so it worked it was incredible. Because at first, all the kids were a little shy, but as they opened up, especially while they were golfing, they were comfortable trading cards. So cool. So we took them golfing. Did all that, went back. We rented an Airbnb for all of them to stay at. So I had a guy actually flying from Phoenix. Shout out to my boy Logan. Flew in from Phoenix. I had never met him. He just saw it on social media. I was like, you really did? Like, you saw my content and you flew all the way out here. Like, I would have never imagined that.
And you're like, now you're $300 and flights and travel. Yeah.
So like, because I'm young, it's like I was almost insecure putting on the event, super nervous because like I told Trevor, it's like, well, like, am I at a place to actually share like knowledge? Like, who am I to tell these people how to run their businesses? But he's like, no, you have it wrong. So you have like people that are super high up experience wise in business, right? And then you got people like me that are just new to the game, right? Down here. And I go to events with Trevor, Justin Prince, to pull myself up to where they're at, right? But what Trevor, he changed my whole perspective because he said, dude, there's people younger than you on their journey that you can pull up to where you're at. You don't need to pull them all the way up to where everyone else is. Pull them to where you're at because they'll find value in that. And that's when it changed. Yeah. I was like, I don't need to be insecure about this. But anyways, okay, so we get him back to the Airbnb. This is the special part. Give him Jimmy John's or some kind of lunch. I forgot. Then we had Matt Blanchard come speak. Incredible. Have you interviewed him yet?
I've not.
Oh my gosh. I will connect you. He will be the best. He's probably one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. Incredible story. He came and spoke, and it was incredible. Just so electric. So it kind of got the day going. And then this is where the magic really happened. Because I stood up there and I said, hey, okay, guys, this is the power of masterminds. If you're vulnerable and open with each other, that's when you're going to find connection. And that's when you're going to actually solve problems in your life. But it starts with being open and vulnerable. So as we break out, I want you to keep that in mind. So we broke out into groups of 5. And it was so cool because I basically said, okay, go in with these prompts. What obstacles are you seeing in your business and how can we help you solve them? And I scheduled 2 hours and I set a timer, but that wasn't enough. Like I text my group leaders and they're like, no, like we need more time. Like it had been 2 hours of these guys like just talking. And these are 16 to 27-year-olds, young people that usually are pretty shy, but as they opened up and they were just so fired up, they came back in and then we reviewed as a group. And then after that, we had dinner. Then we brought Trevor Calley in to speak to all of us. So sick. So it was just a live Q&A. Had him speak. Incredible. So inspiring. And then he traded. We gave him his own little baseball card, and he traded with everyone else. And then at the end, because I remember the very beginning, I told everyone, I think later on I kind of opened up. I was like, guys, like to be honest with you, I was super nervous about putting on this event. Because I've never done anything like this. Like I'm young, I'm 20. I was honestly almost the youngest one there, funny enough. Right? But as we got going, I realized like, no, like it's not about me. It's about inspiring everyone else and just putting them in the right room together with the right people. And I just got to get out of the way.
Yep.
That's all it was.
Well, the all of that you've built though through all of the hard work and getting made fun of in high school and all the hours and the goofy mic on your phone, and I mean that's what I mean, and it's still going. So that's not like the pinnacle of it. It's still going. But think about if you had that option when you were 15.
Oh my gosh.
That Trevor Calley was doing that, or whoever else, right? And Trevor, dude, he's one of my favorite for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, he actually grew up around the corner from us, and I've known him. I've known who he was for a long time, and I was always again, dude, I always put it as, and it actually hurts me. So people shouldn't do this, but I'm like, I shouldn't be in the same room as that guy. Like that's what I always thought when I would get in these rooms with people. But that's who he was to me forever. Yeah. And even when I went up and asked him and Kel and I did them separately on the podcast, I had him come in individually. And when I went and asked him, I was like, I was nervous. And I was probably already doing this for a year.
Yeah, same with me. Dude, I still get nervous every episode. Right?
Well, that's what I tell people when they're like, oh, they're kind of shaking it off when we're getting ready. I'm like, I still take a deep breath. And like when I start, and I still get the jitters. So at 117 episodes. So
yeah. And dude, that's the problem I'm trying to solve, right? Because we had the event and it was incredible. And afterwards, everyone was telling me like, dude, like, why did you only charge us $200 or $300? Like I would have paid so much money to be here. Like, when can we do it again? So at that point I was like, okay, this works. We've proven the system. Yeah. We basically did our minimum viable product, got it out there. It was successful. So now I'm like, okay, we're going to scale this thing. So now here's the vision. We're about to launch this in November. So right now it's just been super private. I limited it to 20 people and we sold all the spots. Okay. So now we're going to open it back up to the public, to all the young hustlers out there. So here's the vision of what it's going to look like. So it's going to be a monthly membership. And what you do, you're going to get together once a month with your inner circle. So there's going to be like a St. George inner circle or a Bloomington inner circle of about 10 people of just hustlers. and you're going to meet once a month, and you're going to talk about issues you have in your business or in your life, and you're going to mastermind together. If you haven't been to a mastermind, you got to try it at least once.
Yeah.
Do it with your, they're electric. It's exactly what we're doing on the podcast, but 10x.
Yeah.
With so many different people. So we're going to do that once a month. You're going to get swag. You're going to get featured on the Instagram as Hustler of the Week. You guys may have seen those. And then also once a month, we're going to do a mentor meetup. Okay, so we're going to have a board of mentors, people like Nicole Tanner, the founder of Swig. Justin Prince is already committed to be a mentor. Trevor Kelly, Kel Goodman, the Solid Podcast guys.
Just
Jeff
some
Fieldstaff.
studs, dude.
They've all committed to help my young hustlers. So, for example, like the first one we're going to plan, most likely with Brandon Neal from the Solid Podcast. We're going to go out because he owns the Rolling Bones, right? The franchise. So we're probably going to go out, and this is once a month what we're going to do with a mentor, a featured mentor. We're going to go do something fun with him. Probably go shoot guns with him because I know he does that for people. Yeah. And then afterwards, we do a live Q&A with him to where you get personal time with someone that you look up to, a mentor that's absolutely just crushed it in life. Because there's so many kids out there that want to meet these people, but I just want to be the middleman and give them an opportunity to be around these guys, to be in close proximity, because it's special. So that's the problem that I'm going to solve. I'm going to give these young hustlers an opportunity to link up with these mentors and become possible business partners, and also get exclusive access to their companies, like exclusive deals. For example, I have a buddy. Have you interviewed Jace Vernon or met him?
I don't know.
So Jace and Curtis Pace, they're starting an ice bath.
Okay.
It's basically a health sauna place here in St. George. And they are both going to be on our board of mentors. And they said, hey, like bring your guys in and we'll do an ice bath night. We'll talk about the benefits of ice baths and how we've started our multi-million-dollar businesses, and I'll do ice baths together. Yeah. Then outside of that, being a Winner Circle member, you'll get exclusive deals. So you'd get some kind of discount, maybe half off every month, a membership at the Earth Spa is what they're calling it. So stuff like that I'm so pumped about, and we're about to launch it. So dude, it is my absolute passion, because I have people messaging me all day wanting to join. In fact, before we got on, I had someone ask me about it, but I'm saying, okay, actually it's private right now, but we're about to launch it. And it's going to be public. So you'll see me posting about it. We're creating the website, but I'm so pumped because there's such a need for it. Yeah. Right?
Well, it's like, so I've seen a lot of the kids that are coming out of high school, and I've talked about this a lot lately because I'm in it right now. I'm doing it right now. And I've been like very critical of the public school system, like not necessarily like a specific school or teacher or anything, but just the system in general. And Southern Utah, or Utah as a whole, like it's not as bad here as it is in other places. And I'm aware of that. I've had a lot of people try to correct me on that. And I'm like, I'm aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I've actually, I complain about things in my mind, and then that's how I get to solving them. Like I'll keep running it through my head. Well, I don't like this. Well, how do I okay, so what are we going to do to fix that? You know? And when I was doing my goals at the beginning of the year, that was one of my goals was, well, I don't even have a kid in school. Like my son will turn 3 in a couple weeks. Right. Yeah. And I'm like super critical of him. And I've always said, I'll just homeschool my kid. And like, but school's not my problem. The kids there aren't my problem. And I was talking to a friend before the end of last year, and he was like, yeah, but you know how valuable school is for a lot of kids? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, you can get that anywhere. And he's like, some kids, that's the only place they feel love. Some kids, that's the only place they eat. Some kids, and he lists this whole thing off. And I was like, dang, dude, like I didn't really, like I'm just talking about my kid, not all these other kids. And so at the beginning of the year, I thought, well, how can I help with this? And I thought, well, I'm going to go speak in a couple classes, some entrepreneurship classes, something like that. And so the start of the year, I messaged one of my teachers that I knew was still in the teaching somewhere. And she was my favorite teacher ever, Renee Martineau. Okay. And she was like, I'm actually the vice principal over at Crimson. And so I was like, oh, and I'm like, well, can you hook me up with someone? Or like, do I need to show you, like, I mean, is this even possible? Like, I'm just a dude that wants to come in and talk to kids, And she's like, yeah, I'll link it up. So she got with her business teacher over at Crimson and Mrs. Moore, Tiffany Moore. And so she reached out to me, and I sent her like this out. She's like, can you just send me an outline so I kind of know, what you want to speak on? And And I thought, I'm like, well, I could speak on like mental health. I could speak on business. I could speak. And I started naming off all these things, real estate and all this stuff. And she's like, just send me an outline. And I'm like, okay. So I send her and I start just writing things down of like, more of like bullet points, you know, of how, if I was going to speak, how the speech would go. And I ended up sending her like 3-page outline.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
all of it.
I could speak on any of this stuff. And I don't know what classes you want me to speak in. So I don't know how to tailor the outline. And anyway, so, but again, dude, it was one of those things where it was like made me nervous. And I'm like, do I even really want to go do this? And but it was a goal I had. I wanted to speak in 12 classes. And I thought like one a month.
So cool.
And then I realized that summer. And so I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to have to double some of these up.
Yeah.
So it was cool. So I ended up going and speaking at Crimson a couple of times. I've spoke at Pineview, which I went to Pineview. I spoke there a couple times. And then I got in with the DECA team. Got in with it. They've actually came on the podcast. I had the whole, there was 5 of them that qualified for
the nationals.
Yeah. And so they were all on, and I still talk to a couple of them. Anyway, so it's like, again, it's just kind of like blowing up what my reach is.
Exactly.
And then once I had them on the podcast and we talked through the podcast, like those next few weeks, we started getting like younger audience. And I was like, okay, so and that's probably the easier audience to tackle. But I felt like who I was going after were the people my age and older. Not on purpose, but that's just who was consuming it. Mm-hmm. And then once I broke into that, I thought, well, dude, this is the future. Like these are the kids of the future. And I think it's the hardest future that the world's ever seen. Mm-hmm. Right. And so like, why not help some of these kids? And so when I saw what you were doing, I was like, dude, that's so cool. Cause you're making it tangible to these kids. Right. Seeing clips on YouTube, that's not a real person, you know, like you're just thinking like, there's no way I could get to that level or not even that. But like right now, there's no way I could get advice from that person. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when I saw that, I was like, dude, I love this because you're implementing that and taking 14. Was that the youngest you said you had?
Yeah. 15.
15. So 15 can now sit with Trevor Cowley, Justin Prince, Brandon Neal, Jeff Fieldstead, all these people that, again, in my words, that I should cut out of my vocabulary is they have no business being in that room. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, dude, Cowley hit it right on the head where he was like, you bring them to your level. Like if you can get them up to your level, then that'll make them see that they can go up to the highest level. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. And even with younger kids, like I think you would have jumped all over it and you kind of did. Like being a part of those coaching programs. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, so I've been a part of Arate for a long time.
Oh, nice.
But when I was 15, that wasn't possible. I mean, it's $5,000 a year, I think.
Yeah.
And their events are thousands of dollars to go to their events. And so like, a high school kid doesn't have that opportunity, but what you're putting on, and I think Justin Prince is also doing he's doing like a younger high school age mentor group thing.
It's like,
right?
It's basically very similar. So it's just teenage kids that he takes to his house. He's doing one tonight, actually.
Is he? Yeah. And then they put their cell phones away and I'm just like, dude, that's so cool because I think that's where our focus should be. Mm-hmm. Trying to, again, I think that high school age kids have more challenges than any other high school age kid has ever had. Mm-hmm. And so, and even I love that Justin made it he made it an exclamation point that we take their phones and we put them away, and it's like, especially, I mean, you got Justin Prince in front of you, you should probably shut up and listen. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that dude's taking time out of his day to try and influence you at any level, you should be quiet. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Arate, I was at their event they did one in Missouri this summer, and I flew out there and that's where Andy Frisella lives. And so we did it over there. And Ed Milet was up talking. And it was probably like one of the most powerful speeches I've ever heard. And he's talking, and in the middle of his talk, he's like, would you put your phone away? Like to someone in the audience, right? There's
no way.
There's 1,500 people there.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, put your phone away. You would think if someone's worth $800 million, you'd want to listen to him. And I was like, oh my
Just went
gosh.
dead silent,
Yeah.
I bet.
And I was like, could you imagine being that person, you know? And I'm like, I hope that someone was dying on the other end of that line because it was not worth it, you know?
Gosh.
But it made me think like, dude, these guys are taking time out, and like, I don't know what they're getting paid or if they are getting paid or whatever it is. I don't know. But like, they're taking time out to do that. So whether it's Winter Circle, me teaching in school or talking in schools or Justin Prince or whatever it is, like, get involved in those things, but be involved. Like, I think putting the phones away is a great idea that Justin does.
Yeah. And kind of backing up to what you were saying about being nervous to go speak.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a natural thing. Like, I get nervous every time I do a podcast still. And every time I approach someone to be a guest on the podcast, or if I'm on a call with a potential Binblasters franchisee. But here's a little nugget, piece of advice that might help the listeners with public speaking that has helped me so much. So when you're speaking, when you're about to get up, for example, like I always think about church, speaking in church, right? You're sitting there up on the pulpit and you hear your name, like, yeah, Kaden Terry is going to speak to us next after the song or whatever. And your heart just drops, okay? And you get that feeling, that fight or flight feeling, okay? Your adrenaline just spikes, okay? And your heart's going fast. You're in a high arousal state. You're just going crazy, right? So what helps, like, naturally we tell ourselves, okay, you know, I need to calm down. I need to take a breath. Like, it's okay. But actually, like, we shouldn't do that because it's super hard for our bodies to go from a high arousal state to a low arousal state at a snap of a finger. So all that you need to do is just turn that negative perception of being nervous into a positive one. And I've read books that talk about this, and it's using the phrase, I'm excited. Okay, so it's the same emotions,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I'm nervous. You probably heard about this. I'm nervous. You know, my heart rate's going. I've got my adrenaline, but it's the same feeling when you're excited. So if you flip it and you tell yourself that, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped to speak. I'm going to inspire so many people. Like, it's going to be incredible. Your arousal state's still pretty high, but now it's in a positive way. So I do that all the time with podcasts before I public speak. Helps a ton. So
Yeah, on that, I read a study that they did, and I think it was Joe Dispenza that talked about it. It may have been someone else, I can't remember, but it's the same exact like chemical release.
Yes.
Your mind reads it the exact same. It's all the same. It's just how you interpret the feeling. And dude, I've thought about this a lot, and I've talked about it a little bit, but my wife, like, they grew up, they're rock climbers, rappellers, you know, they do a lot of outdoor mountain biking, all that stuff. And like, most people would be nervous to go do that, right? But her family's been taught how fun it is. And so like, you put someone in that same situation like me that would be nervous to do it. And now I'm like, well, I don't know about this. I don't know if I'm going to do it. And then you have like her 8-year-old brother at the time when I was dating my wife, just whoop right off the edge, dude, and rappelling down this 200-foot drop, right?
yeah.
And so it's that, like, and my mom hates it when I say this, but like, I feel like I grew up, like, I was very cautious about things. I was taught to like, not, you know, don't go bankrupt, don't ruin your credit score, don't miss that payment. Like, everything was extremely conservative, and which can be a good thing, but I translated that to like everything in my life. Like, I had to be so careful in everything in my life. And like 10 years ago, dude, I just had to flip that switch to like take some risks, you know?
Totally.
But it's crazy about that though, dude. I love that you said that, because I've said it a few times on here, and it's, if you look at it through the other way, and now like, I have a son now, it's like, I do everything I can not to be like, make him nervous about things. You know, it's like, oh, this will be fun. Oh, you know, and like put a positive spin to it. And he's only 3, so the jury's still out, dude. But this kid's fearless. Like, he's
That's
fearless,
good,
dude.
good.
And I'm like, hopefully he takes that from my wife's side, right? And sees the positive in that. Because I think you get kind of handicapped, like I was for a long time, that fear of that, it just freezes you up. You never take any risk on anything. And it's impossible to, well, maybe not impossible to get very far, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much easier to get to that point if you just jump in and take the risk.
Yeah, dude, it's paralysis by analysis.
Exactly,
I mean, you're just
dude.
stuck.
Yeah.
I always talk about, okay, like, if you have a business idea or something you want to do, I take the model of going ready, aim, or ready, fire, aim. Okay. So instead of ready, aim, fire, you're ready. Okay. You got your plan and you're just going to fire away.
Yeah.
And as you're firing, you're slowly aiming. But instead of being ready, aim, 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 and then fire a year later.
Or not fire.
Or not fire. Dude, it's like fire and figure it out as you go. That's the whole process of life.
Yeah.
It's going out and testing things, getting data back. It's the same with the Winter Circle. I was super nervous about putting on that event, but I thought, you know what, we're just going to fire away. And we got the data back, and now we're aiming, and we're still firing away. That's what it comes down to, is actually just putting in the effort and the action.
Well, no, people will say, what's the worst thing that happens? No one shows up. And I'm like, it's not even that. The worst, and it's not even a bad thing, but then you just learn all the ways that you shouldn't have done it.
Yep.
Maybe you should have marketed on Instagram instead of Facebook. Maybe it should have been 200 instead of 300, you know, and I hate that, dude. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? And I'm like, nothing, dude. You're just going to learn from it.
Win or learn,
if
dude.
you see it that way, you know, you have to be able to translate that into a learning experience at some point. And so, and especially, dude, where you're so young. I mean, I'm young too. I'm 34, so don't get me wrong. Like, I can still screw up a few times too. But when you were back up, when you were saying you were finding out all these things at 17, 18 about what you want to do and don't want to do and what you have passion for, people are still doing that at 40, you know? So dude, I mean, I love everything you're doing. I seriously, and I knew you were young. I didn't know how young you were.
Yeah. It's been a journey, man. I've learned so much, so much.
Because you've done it, because you've jumped in and you've done it. You weren't worried about getting made fun of in high school about having a podcast. You weren't worried about failing as a franchisee. You weren't worried about getting into you figure it out and you move forward, right? And I'm sure you've had failures.
Oh my gosh.
What are a couple failures you can talk about? Because sometimes I get too focused on all the positive things on here. Let's jump into a couple failures maybe that you think you can share.
Okay, this is what's interesting. I was talking to my buddy Ryan today. And he was like, dude, I love watching your stories because it's real world business situations. Like, there's no fluff. You're talking about the good times and the bad times. And so I did that today. Like, we had 30 trash cans that a business wanted us to clean for them. We showed up, got going, and then our generator stopped working. So I was frantically trying to figure this out because, funny enough, the owner is coming by tomorrow to check out these trash cans and the rest of the whole facility. And I've been scrambling all day and still, so I had to stop. We have 10 more cans to clean. Finally got the generator working. And so I'm actually going to go back there tonight after. It's like
Binblaster trucks outside.
Yeah, it's almost 9:00 here. And I've got 10 more cans to clean. So I made a video talking about that, saying, look, guys, like, you're going to see all of these influencers on Instagram talking about business, and you're going to see all the rainbows and the sunshine. Oh, it's awesome.
Cars and the planes.
Yeah. But I told him, like, look, guys, like, this is what business is like. Like, this is real business. Okay, so here's a perfect example. You got to interview my brother Kyler when he gets back from his mission. He's incredible. He was on the Real Business Owners podcast too. But him and I, we get into flipping cars, right? I've shared this story so much.
If anyone's seen a 17-year-old driving around a supercar, it's probably one of these guys.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Not me, Kyler. So I was flipping cars with Kyler, and then we both had enough capital to do it on our own. I left on my mission. Nicest car I got was like a 21 Tacoma. Super sick. Loved it. Then I left, and Kyler got flipping these exotic cars.
Yeah.
He actually partnered with Justin Prince and did a lot of cars with Justin. So we've gotten tied with Justin through that, done some real estate with him. But Kyler and I, we get this opportunity. Once again, my dad, he's like, hey, I just got my dealer's license. If you guys want to try buying from the auction, go for it. So Kyler and I were like, dude, let's do it. So we look, and we're looking, and we find a Tundra. Okay, we're so pumped because this Tundra was super cheap. I think it was like $3,000. And we're like, dude, we got to buy it. Let's fly down to California, get it. And we were just so excited. And so we buy it, and it was all online. Okay, so it's through the Manheim auction.
Okay.
They tell you everything that's wrong with the car. Okay, and I bought and sold probably now 35 cars. This was the very first one from the auction. So I was confident. I was like, oh yeah, I've bought 10 cars before this and made a profit. I can definitely do it with this little Tundra. And so we buy it, and we fly all the way down there, and we're going to drive it back. And we go to start it, and it won't even start. Okay. And we're panicking. So we jump in, and it still won't start. And we call a mobile mechanic. He drives over. It costs us like $500, and he still can't figure out what's wrong with this truck. And we come to learn that there's a bunch of frame damage. The whole underneath it is just completely ruined. And so we couldn't even drive it back. We flew back home and paid to get it transported. Oh. I had this thing with Kyler for over a year. So get this. I remember taking it through the car wash. And through the side door, the water just comes all over the inside. And then I'm driving it the next day and the speedometer stops working. So I'm driving to school, taking girls on dates, having to use my phone as the speedometer.
It was Google mapping it with like speed.
Yeah. I literally had to download an app, a speedometer app, and it told me how fast I was going. How ghetto is that? Okay. And I remember driving in traffic and it just stopped in the middle of an intersection. And Kyler and I had to get out and push it. So we ended up dumping so much money into that car over time, and we lost probably $4 or $5 on that flipping thing. But I learned, okay, I understood now, okay, I'm not going to buy cars that have frame damage. I'm not going to buy cars if they're older than 15 years. I'm not going to buy cars if they've been in more than 2 accidents. So I started getting like these different criteria of what to look for and what to avoid. But I wouldn't have known that unless we took that jump. Like, yeah, we lost some money. That sucked. But the process, then after that, we knew exactly what we wanted to buy. So that's just one failure. Every day there's failures, dude.
You really start looking at it, right?
That's how we grow, right? It's literally how we go. So here's a cool concept. So there's a difference. We all have these obstacles or failures in life, but there's 2 ways that we can react to them. Okay, and here's how we can do it. So I want you to imagine, all the listeners out there, that I'm holding a box that's labeled as fragile. Okay, if this box could speak, it's a little Amazon box, it's fragile, okay? If it could speak, it might say, handle me with care. Don't move me around, because the more you do, the weaker I'm going to get. I'm going to shatter, I'm going to break. Just hold me and cradle me and tell me it's going to be okay. Okay, now I want you to think about another box that I'm holding in my hand. Okay, this Amazon box, it's actually got a little sticker that says anti-fragile. Okay, if this box could speak, it'd probably say, you know what, move me around, kick me, throw me, because the more you do, the stronger I get. Not only that, I want you to move me around, because I understand that's where I thrive and that's where I grow. So kick me, move me, because it doesn't matter. All these external forces I'm going to use for my growth. Another example, think of a candle. If I'm holding a little candle in my hand for my birthday, and the wind or my breath goes to this candle, it's going to extinguish the candle. But if I get a big bonfire in Warner Valley with my friends, okay, and that same wind, that same external force comes to that same fire, it's going to ignite it and it's going to grow and grow and use it as fuel. So I remember learning that from a mentor of mine, Justin Key, and it changed my whole perspective. I was like, holy crap. Okay, that is the reason why God has us on this earth, is to learn from these obstacles. And I have so many experiences, especially with my heart surgery stuff, which we'll get into, of turning obstacles into opportunities. So I feel like that is my biggest mindset now with life. Completely changed everything. Like today, for example, you will see this on my story, but I talked about just how stressed I was with this flipping pressure washer when it stopped working, because I have 30 cans I got to clean by tomorrow, or else my customers are going to be pissed. And I was stressing because I have no idea how to fix that stuff. But then in my mind, I was like, okay, are you anti-fragile or fragile? Are you going to be a wuss about this and just crumble? Or are you going to use it as an opportunity? So I thought, okay, well, how in the world can this be an opportunity? And I thought more and more, and I was like, well, this is perfect, because this is actually an opportunity to understand this generator of how I can fix this problem, so that now as I'm creating this online course for my franchisees, I can create a video saying, hey, I ran into this problem. When it happens to you, here's the solution.
Yep.
So that you don't have to deal with it.
Exactly.
So that's the whole anti-fragile mindset that I preach and that I love so much. It's changed my whole life.
Well, let's transition into the heart surgery since you kind of brought that up, dude. So I didn't even know about this. So tell me what happened.
Yeah. Okay. So sitting in school, okay, and I'm sitting at my desk, we're doing some work, and I drop my pencil on the floor. So I bend over to pick it up, and my heart starts to flutter like crazy, dude. And I happen to be wearing my Apple Watch at the time. and I tracked my heart rate on my watch. Okay, so for the listeners, like when I'm sitting down, and probably same with anyone, your heart rate's about 50, 60, or 70 beats per minute when you're just chilling. When I tracked it on my watch, it said that I got from 60 beats per minute to 220 at a snap of a finger. Less than 2 seconds.
Holy cow.
Crazy. So I realized then, okay, something's up, because it kept happening, and I'd have to cough to make these weird beats stop, rapid beats. And it started to affect me with baseball. You know, I played baseball all growing up, all through high school, loved it. But it would affect me because I'd be fielding ground balls or hitting, and I'd have these flutters, or I'd be lifting weights. Like I remember I used to get super bad migraines and almost pass out because I'd have these flutters. And I always wondered, what is going on? But when I tracked on my watch, I realized, okay, something's up. So I went and had some tests at the hospital, and they said I was born with a disease called Wolff-Parkinson's-White syndrome. So it basically means that when I was born, apparently I was born with an extra electrical pathway in my heart that misfires, that causes that rapid heartbeat. Usually it shows up in people later in life, around 60 or 70, and it's rare at that, and it's even rarer for people to have it when they're young. And so I go in and they say, hey, we got to have a heart ablation. We got to have surgery on your heart to burn the part that is misfiring. Okay, so that it corrects it, basically. Funny enough, they got to go and burn it.
Yeah.
So they go in and they have the surgery, and I'm 14 at this time, freshman in high school. And I was so frustrated because actually later, I was frustrated because I was having so much fun playing baseball, going to school. Then I got to go have this heart surgery, scared out of my mind.
Sure.
So I go in and I have the surgery. It was great. They roll me out. Everything was awesome. And then I get back to normal life. And then 6 months later, the weird beats come back. And I'm like, yo, like I thought they fixed this thing. Like, what the
can
heck?
we get a refund?
Yeah, honestly, it's such a joke. I'm like, what? So we go in again. They do some tests. Funny enough, like I had to wear this heart monitor. It was like this big box on my chest, and I had to wear it to baseball tryouts. I remember how goofy it was. Everyone was just teasing me about it. But then they saw that I still had the weird beats, right? So I go in and they say, hey, you got to have surgery again. And at this point, I knew the doctor super well because I had already been with him quite a while. And they roll me in for the surgery. And somehow, it must have been when I was under anesthesia or something. So this is the second surgery. When I was under anesthesia, I must have told them that I loved rap music, old school rap. Absolutely love it. So sick. And so they're rolling me in, and they're playing It Was a Good Day by Ice Cube over the speakers.
Nice.
It was like a walk-up song going into surgery, and all the doctors are dapping me up, saying what's good. Like, yo, let's go. Kaden's back. Let's go round 2. But I go into that surgery, and it was awesome. Roll back out, and I'm out of it. You know, I don't remember anything. And apparently, they did the test while I was still out of it, and they told my parents, hey, like, we don't have it fixed yet. Do you want to just do the surgery again today? And they're like, yeah, I mean, if that's the best option. So they roll me back in a third time and do the same exact surgery because they just weren't used to operating on a young kid, right? So they do the surgery, and it was great. And they roll me back out, and then I'm fine. I go back to school. Before that, I remember I made the golf team, and I was so excited because I had worked for so long and made the golf team. But when those weird beats came back after that first surgery, I was so frustrated, not only like with my heart, but more with God. Like, why would you allow this to happen? Like, I'm doing everything you're asking me to do, and I'm trying to live a righteous life. But why are you putting this obstacle? Right back then, I had a fragile mindset.
Right.
Okay, so I have the third surgery. At this point, I'm a junior in high school. So I'm going back to school, going great, playing baseball with all the homies. And then a year later, these weird beats come back again. Sitting in class, tracked on my watch.
Is this a year by year thing?
Yeah, it's like just a reunion every time. So I go back in, and I have the surgery again, and it was
like
great.
Tupac changes this time? What were they playing?
Yeah,
this time?
I know. Yeah, they should have, for real. Yeah, went from Ice Cube to Tupac, for real. That would have been awesome. Yeah, so I had the surgery, and it was great. So I was fine after that. No issues whatsoever. So blessed. God gave me so many opportunities with baseball and with business, like we were talking about, all through junior and senior year. I leave on my mission to Seattle, Washington. Absolutely loved it. Loved it. I learned, and I talk about this a lot with my podcast, the principles I learned out there, I believe, are eternal principles that as I've applied in business and life since I've been back, have just 10x'd my life. And a lot of the guys that I interview, they talk about these principles, eternal principles that apply to life, right? Like goal setting, weekly planning, communication with people, just being a good person. Like you apply it all back home and it works out great. So basically I learned that stuff on my mission. So I could talk the rest of the hour about that. And so as missionaries in our church, we serve for 2 years, most of the time. I was at about 19 months and those weird beats came back again. And I started to panic. I was like, no way. Like I'm in my element. I'm totally just engulfed in the work here in Seattle, serving people, helping them. Like totally forgot about home life and business. Like that was super hard for me to leave. Such a big sacrifice. But I saw the people and came to love them. And when those beats came back, I just panicked because I was like, man, like these people out here, like I enjoy being an instrument in God's hands and I've seen miracles every single day. I don't want to leave because I feel like there's people here that need me, that God needs me to find. So those beats came back, and long story short, I came home from my mission at about 19 months. Had some more tests done and basically said, hey, like we see the weird beats, but you don't need surgery. So I've been fine since then. Every single day I still have those weird, they're not like the super rapid beats, but it almost feels like a shock in my chest. Like every day when I'm lifting, like just weird, but they said like, oh, that's just kind of a byproduct of what you've had done.
Crazy.
And so that's changed my whole perspective, Jarrett, because I realized like life is so short. So here's another lesson that I learned. Okay. It's this term called memento mori. You've maybe heard of this. You've had people talk about it. So it's Latin for remember death. It's the whole idea of that today is a literal gift from God and it could be your last. You don't know like if something could happen to you, or if I'm driving the Binblasters truck home after this and I get in a wreck and that's it. I don't have time to mess around with trivial crap because I have people that God needs me to inspire. So I have to do it today. Like today's all I got. So on my mission, and even before, like I was talking about, my mentor, Justin Keat, who you should interview actually. He's the principal at Desert Hills High School and an entrepreneur. He has a software he's created, Total Hustler. Damn. And we do a mastermind together. He would be an awesome guest. Yeah, most of the stuff I'm talking about, I've learned from him. Because he's funny enough, he saw my truck for sale on Facebook and he clicked it and he said, oh, like I've seen this kid at my school. And he clicked it and he said, oh, he has a podcast. Like I'm super passionate about self-development too. Let me listen. And he started listening and then he actually called me down to his office. He came to my business class. And long story short, that turned into weekly visits with me going to his office, drinking bucked up energy drink, talking about books that we're reading, self-development books like Atomic Habits, The Obstacle's the Way, my number one favorite book I learned from Justin. And it's so cool because he's changing the whole education outlook because he's realizing that he wants to teach real world things to people, self-development to his students. And he's super entrepreneurial, so he would be an awesome guest.
Yeah,
Justin Keat. I will connect you right after. But basically, he taught me this principle of memento mori, and he gave me this little printout of a skeleton. Okay, so he served his mission in Germany. And this is what the skeleton means. We'll have to link it for your listeners. I'll send it to you after. But it's this skeleton, okay, and it has a bow and arrow, and it's pointing directly, like if you're looking at the painting, directly at your eye level. And I think it's from like the 1400s. And it's in German, and Justin, he translated it for me because he speaks German. And it's one of the most powerful things I have ever learned in my life. And I have it hung up in my room because of this. So this skeleton, it's pointing the arrow at you, the bow and arrow. And it's basically the angel of death. Okay, so the arrow symbolizes today. Okay, so he has the arrow, and the arrow symbolizes death. He's like, okay, like I'm aiming it at you. Today could be the day. And the powerful thing is on the ground, there's an arrow that's snapped in half. And in German, it says yesterday. Yesterday, I tried to fire it, but it didn't get you. So today you have another chance to live. Give it your all. And then on his back, he has a whole carton of arrows and it says tomorrow. Okay, well, if I didn't get you yesterday or today, then tomorrow. Like every day is not promised. And that sounds super gory, but if you look at it in that perspective that there's people today that need you to inspire them and to give your greatest gifts and greatest service to the world. It's not about you. It's about the people you can inspire. So that's my biggest motivator, is seeing that flipping skeleton staring at me every morning. Like this morning, I woke up, I'm training for a half marathon. Got back from traveling all day yesterday to get our new Binblasters truck. On my Nike Run Club, it said, hey, you're running 10 miles today. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, man. I've been driving all day. But then I see that skeleton and he reminds me like, no, like this is all you got, man. Give it your all. Like you've got untapped potential that God has given you. You need to just get after it. And so that's my constant reminder, especially with the heart surgeries, right? That could have been super fatal if I kept having those beats, because the doctors basically said I could have gone into cardiac arrest if they lasted long enough. So I realized like, holy crap, I don't have time to waste. I got to inspire people through the podcast. I got to build businesses that inspire more and more people. So that is a true motivator since the heart surgeries, is that like it's not promised. Every day is not promised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you get fatigued? How do you deal with fatigue? Do you ever get it? I mean, you're still young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
So
I totally do.
I mean, is it like, so
yeah.
for me, it's like I'll have to get headphones on and listen to Eric Thomas or some type of like motivation, right? But I know that motivation, I mean, it comes and goes. But like when I'm in those, like, oh my gosh, I got to go do this now today. You know, I get headphones on and I'll listen to something. What do you do? How do you deal with that fatigue?
So good. So good. And that fatigue is great. Like it's normal. A lot of times we get frustrated with ourselves saying, you know, I'm not working hard enough and I still feel tired. Like what's going on? But in my mind, my whole mindset is, okay, I'm intensely on and I'm intensely off. Okay. I work in waves. I'm working super, super hard and intently, and then I'm resting intently. You look at some of the greatest professional athletes in the world, they are almost more intentional with their rest than they actually are with their training. So everyone rests in different ways. For me, I love short little power naps. Like they're huge for me. 20 minutes. And if I can get one of those in, I feel like $1 million. But at the end of the day, like we all have these weird days that we feel off and kind of wobbly, right? And so here's something interesting that you can do with your friends. And you'll see this video on my social media. But basically, here's a point to illustrate this. So get one of your buddies, and I want you to spin them around 10 times, okay? And as you spin them, I want you to have them stop. And then I want you to tell them, okay, look around at your environment. So you do that, and what happens is you get more and more dizzy the more you pay attention to your environment spinning around. Okay, but if you tell them, okay, now I want you to pause and do a little prayer pose like this and look intently at your fingers. If you do that, you'll regain your equanimity or your balance at a snap of a finger. It's like the most trippy thing in the world because you're looking around and you're getting super dizzy, but then you look at your hands and just stare aggressively at them, so to speak, and you regain your balance and you're not dizzy anymore, just like that. And so that helps me illustrate the point that when life flips us upside down, when we have these obstacles and we're feeling kind of wobbly, we want to go back to our focal points. Things that we can focus on every single day. And for me, I call them the fundamentals. Okay, when life gets me, I mean, it happens all the time. Like it happened this morning.
It happened to me yesterday.
Yeah, I was so pissed that I had to get up and go run. But here's what's powerful. So the fundamentals. I played baseball through high school. The greatest athletes of all time, they understood the fundamentals and the boring parts of the game, and they're excellent at it. They dominated the fundamentals. Fielding ground balls, hitting off of a tee that are so boring to other players, they absolutely dominated them. And doing those things day in and day out, they became great. So for me, I have fundamentals every day that if I do, it'll create a successful day, no matter what, right? It sets me up for success early on. So some of my fundamentals, they're in the categories of eat, move, and sleep. So I have a different routine I do in the morning, go to the gym, come back, read my scriptures, connect with God. I'll do a little meditation sometimes, and then I'll read and set myself up for the day. But it's those fundamentals of exercising, reading, learning, and then sleeping for me, getting 8 hours. if I do those things day in and day out, as life makes me wobbly, I'm able to focus on those things and regain my balance. It's the coolest thing. And I found that pattern to where it helps me deal with stress in my life, because those are the constant things that are helping me grow and regain my balance.
Yeah.
So, but the fatigue is a normal part of that. You just got to be intentional with your recovery as much as you are with your growth.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you heard David Goggins when he talks about stretching? Because he'll go do these ultra marathons, right? And then but when he goes home, he'll stretch for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? And so after he goes and does all of this, then he'll like stay up halfway through the night, be stretching. And it's like that recovery part. Yes. A lot of people skip that, right? And I think as you get older, it starts to catch up with you a little bit more and a little bit more.
Because we almost feel guilty when we're recovering.
Yeah.
But I've changed it from resting to recovery. Like, you've got to have it. If you want to show up and, like I said, give your greatest gifts and greatest service to the world, you've got to recover. Otherwise, you're going to be doing it halfway and not giving those gifts.
And they should be doing it all. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
You're just giving your something to you're comparing something now. If you're not going to give it 100%, now you're just having something to compare to that's not 100%.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
You said refocus, dude. That's kind of been me. When I have days that I struggle, and like I'm pretty open with my wife and my mom and a couple people, and they'll be like, "Hey, how's everything going today?" And like, dude, right now, I have 3 contracts with the post office.
Oh, wow.
And so we have one that goes Hurricane to Hilldale, Hurricane to Zion, and then the Leeds post office, we just took it over a week ago. So like we're running the whole office.
Good.
And we're giving up the Apple Valley one now. So like I'm in a 90-day notice period right now in the middle of it. Well, we got awarded the Leeds one. So I sent everyone that helps me with Apple Valley over there to run the office.
Okay.
And so I'm running Apple Valley 6 days a week. And so I'll go. So like a normal day for me is like get up at 6:30. I try to help my wife as much as I can with my son. Sometimes I take him. So my in-laws live in Hurricane, so I'll drop him off on the way or get him ready. My wife will take him to daycare. And then I get ready, drive out to Hurricane, sort mail, drive to Hilldale, drop mail off, and then deliver Apple Valley the whole way back. And then I go from post office. Typically I check with Leeds, and I've been going over there to help them get done with their delivery and everything for the day. So I'm getting over there about 2:00, help them for an hour or two. And then I drive from there to Sunset to my store. And then I'm at my store until a little after close.
Dude.
And then a day or two a week, we're here doing the podcast. And so like the whole fatigue thing and like getting worn out, like I've been feeling that a lot last couple weeks. And so my thing, so like people checking on me mentally and physically, right? They've been like, "Hey, how's it going today? You know, hey, I had a rough day yesterday. Today," I say, "Man, I'm refocused." You know, I've put a picture of my son in my cars, so I have a picture there. So when I'm feeling tired, I look at it, and he's like, "Dude, you don't have kids, right?"
No,
dude. For me, I mean I was motivated when I was your age. But like, dude, it's a shot of adrenaline having a kid, I think, especially a son. I don't have a daughter, so I don't know. But like having a son, every time I see a picture of him or he's like the lock thing on my phone and I'm just like, dude, that juices me up. And so I started putting pictures of him where I'm going to see him. Like he's on, if you go into my store, there's a picture of me and my family on the wall with him in it, right? And it juices me up seeing him. And then I have my goals. I've printed them out and laminated them and I have them stuck around. And so like that refocus thing to me, getting on a podcast or a motivational thing, I do that as well. But having pictures of like why I'm doing it, I guess, to say like for my wife, for my son, that's why I do everything I do. Like, dude, that's what gets me going.
Yeah. We got to have those in our life. The ways to reset when life gets super stressful, right? For example, this literally happened today. So my stepdad, Wade, he's a huge fan of yours, actually. He listened to the podcast. He was so pumped to hear. Yeah, he was so pumped to hear that I was coming on. But he bought one of those plunge ice bath plunges. And so it just got here yesterday. And today was just so stressful for me, like I'm talking about, with all the issues with our truck and just panicking, trying to figure it out. And I thought, okay, I need to have some way to reset my mind and just have a break. And for me, it's those flipping ice baths.
Yeah.
Dude, like funny enough. So Justin Keat, my mentor, principal at that high school, he's the one that got me into ice baths, Wim Hof stuff. Funny enough, dude, my flipping high school principal,
I gotta be
going down to his office. He let me miss math class, dude. We chat for 2 or 3 hours, literally 2 or 3 hours talking about the same stuff we are right now.
And that's what school should be, man. That's what I think.
Yes, and he's so passionate about it. So we get talking about ice baths. He's like, dude, like you should just take our horse trough that the track team uses, and you can just take it back to your house. I won't tell anyone, and you just use it. So like, bet. So that's when I got hooked on ice baths. And you learn to just crave, because you get in and you're sitting there and it's total hell. Like you hate it. But then after a minute or two, you calm yourself down and you don't feel the pain anymore. And it forces you to be present, because you can't think about the generator not working or your girlfriend. Like you got to focus on the present moment.
Yeah.
And so for me, it brings peace, actually, funny enough. So you get out, and there's a ton of science behind this, but it releases a bunch of dopamine, and you feel euphoric. It's a natural high. And I almost compare it to the way you feel when you wake up in the morning with a clear mind, because I was just so stressed earlier today, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get in the ice bath today. Try out the plunge, first opportunity. And I did it, and it totally just reset my mind and gave me that clarity, because I wanted to come to this podcast and show up the best that I could. And once again, give my greatest gifts and greatest service to the world. And I couldn't do that if my brain was foggy and if I was going 120% all day. I needed to recover.
Yeah.
And that's one way I cope with stress. It's a healthy way to do it. I mean, we all have unhealthy ways of coping with stress. Mine is Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew. Every now and then, dude.
Still waiting for that sponsorship from Mountain Dew to come through.
Love me a Dooski. But that's all it is. Like for me, I'm tired and I'm trying to deal with that stress. So I just grab me a Dooski and chug it. But there's healthy and unhealthy ways to do it.
Dude, the ice bath thing. So my wife has been training for this St. George Marathon that we just had. So she's been training for it all year. And her birthday was in August, so I was trying to figure out what to get her, you know. And I had a friend that I was actually just walking through their house, their brand new house, and they just had one of these like blow up little ice plunge things, right?
Yeah.
Just these little ones, right? And I was like, dude, that's kind of cool. How much was it? Oh, it's like $100. And I was like, really? I was thinking, I knew that wouldn't be that much, but those legit ones, you're 5, 6, 7 grand into these things, 10 grand into these things, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought, dude, I bet my wife would love something like that. So growing up, my older brother, Adam, he was All-American point guard, All-American quarterback, Pine View. And I always remember after the games, him coming home and doing an ice bath, you know? And so I thought like, oh, I'll get one of those for Amanda, help her out, her body trying to recover from all these runs that she's doing. And anyway, she just did the marathon, finished it, 4.5 hours, I think. She killed it, dude. I'm so proud of her. But so she gets in the ice bath yesterday. Yeah. Today's Monday, right? The holiday's throwing me off. So it's a holiday today.
Yeah.
Cause I didn't have mail today. So it's throwing me off.
Yeah.
So she ran Saturday morning and then got in yesterday, and she's always talking about like, oh, it's so cold. Oh, it's 15 minutes. You know, oh, I did an ice bath today. Like we're joking about it a lot. And I was like, dude, they can't be that bad. And she's like, you do it. And I was like, what, you don't think I will? You know? And so I was like, all right. So like I jumped it. I was acting like I was going to get in it. And then I ended up doing it because she was calling my bluff. So first time ever I'd got in one. And this is yesterday. And so I get my legs in. Yeah, because it was Sunday. Because that football.
You just got to get in, dude. You can't just wait.
So the funny part, my wife's like, I don't know, 97 pounds soaking wet. Okay. Yeah. And so she had just gotten out. And then like I get my legs in and I'm like, dude, I'm 250, 6'1", right? So I'm like, I'm going to overflow this thing in a heartbeat. And so I like had my phone, dude, and I like propped my phone up. The football games are just starting 11 o'clock, you know? And I was like, I told her, I said, you're going to give me a 15-minute break from life to sit here and watch football? Like, they don't tempt me with a good time, you know? And so, dude, I like sink down in it. And other than almost flooding our whole house because all the water that came out, like that, like legs, you know, waist, stomach, I was okay, dude. But like once that hit my chest, and how cold do you do it when you do it?
So right now it's set for, I think, 48 degrees.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, this was like 56, 50. And it was all the ice we had. We had just dumped it all in there because we weren't planning on me doing it too.
Yeah. Even then, it's
dude,
so cold.
When it hit my chest, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
like it just took my breath away.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of it. Like, I just love the symbolism because, like, once again, life is gonna kick you around. Are you gonna be fragile or anti-fragile? You're gonna gasp for air, but how are you gonna respond after that? Are you gonna panic, or are you gonna use it as an opportunity to focus on your breath and to calm yourself down and actually live in the moment? Or are you gonna panic and just jump out?
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool to me. It's
I had a lot of pressure because my wife was sitting there watching me. Right?
Yeah,
and
not
so I
letting you
couldn't
get out.
panic.
Yeah, you had to man up, dude.
And so I was like,
Yeah.
like trying to act like I was still breathing normal, and I clearly wasn't.
And
then,
over time, you can train yourself to almost like warm your body up with your breath. It's the coolest
dude, so
thing.
I was doing that, and I didn't know. I assumed there's something behind it, but I was like trying to control my breathing after I got in, and dude, I was probably in there like 25 minutes, and I finally
No way? That long? Oh,
I was finally like and the thing's not built for me, right? So my toes are like jammed up against the side, and it's like my neck's not even in because it's not tall enough. You know, like
it's crazy. I do it for like 5.
Well, so I was like
5 or 6.
Well, so she does 15, and so we don't have a clock in there or anything, right? And
just the first quarter of the game tells you.
It's exactly what it was, dude. And so, I mean, I probably got in like 5 minutes after the game started. And so then I like get down in it, and I've got my phone propped up just watching the games, and like my son is like, when I'm home, I'm a jungle gym, right? Like he just climbs all over me and hits me and everything. And so like he wasn't bugging me. I was just sitting there in it, dude. And it got to the point where I was like, I could probably fall asleep right now. Like I got like super relaxed.
Yeah.
And I'm watching football, so that's helping, right? It's kind of taking my mind off the whole thing. And I'm controlling my breathing, and I'm paying attention to that. And then it's like getting to where the first quarter was over in the football game. And I'm like, Amanda, I'm like, what time is it? And she's like, oh, it's 10:30 or 11:30 or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I've been in here for like a half hour. And she's like, no, you were goofing around. And I was all, no, I got in when the game started. And she's like, oh, maybe 5 minutes after. And I'm like, okay, so I've been here for 25 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And dude, like it probably 20 minutes in, I was starting to be like, okay, this is getting cold.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
totally.
like it was starting to affect me. And to where I was like getting uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I yell at her. She tells me it's 11:30, and then I think I stayed in there for like 2 or 3 more minutes just to show that I was tough, you know, like not jump out right when she says I can. And so, but dude, like when I got out, like there was that, like I just wanted to go sit on the couch. I don't know, like I wanted to just like meditate. I guess like I just wanted to stop, you know. But for real, dude, like I see what you're saying. To be like a resetter. For stress, I could totally understand that. I just did it to prove a point, but like to frequently get in and use that, I love that.
Dude, it's incredible. I used it today because I was high arousal state, right? I was stressed and just going crazy. Well, the ice bath just resets, dude. It calms you down.
So you've been on solid, and you went over to Brandon's house, right?
Yeah.
And he has that plunge.
Yeah,
he
has it now.
The door.
He didn't have it when I went.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
I was like, when I went in, so I was on theirs. When I was in, it was sitting right there. And I was like, all right, dude, I didn't sign up for no freaking cold plunge before we do this. You guys don't do any weird ritual, do you?
It's a requirement.
And he's like, it should be. And I was like, seriously, dude, you should have like your guests all come over and do like just like a group hangout, bring some food, and if people want to jump in, they can jump in. And I don't know. It's just kind of funny. I saw that sitting there and was like, wait a second.
What's going on? I didn't
sign up for this. And it's like right before the door that you go into the
tempting you.
Yeah.
Into their zoo inside of their flipping studio. Dude. All the stuff they've
when I grow up, I want to be Brandon, dude.
Legend.
So I've hunted the last like 4 or 5 years, just like deer, you know, just drawn out for the deer here. And I went on a couple bear hunts with actually he's one of Brandon Neal's buddies too, Ryan Knapp. And it's just like struck a thing with me where I'm like, dude, I just work. Like I don't want to travel. I don't want to go on vacation. Like I don't want to do any of that. I've always just worked my whole life. And when I go out and do a couple of these little hunts that we've done, I'm like, dude, I think this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And Yeah, you go into Brandon's little man cave right there, dude, and you're just like looking around. Like I got pictures of like 360 pictures of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you part of Rolling Bones? Have you been on their platform at all?
No.
Oh, so I'm a member on Rolling Bones now. And like when I'm at the store and like bored, that's another thing that kind of gets me hyped. It's like, it's not cheap to go do that stuff. Right. And so like, I'll get on and look at these hunts that I want to go do. And I'm like, all right, dude, we got to make $5,000 so we can go do that.
It's inspiring.
It really
Motivates
is.
you. Uh-huh.
All right, man. You got anything else? We got about an hour and a half.
Hey, already?
Yeah.
It's already been an hour and a half?
That's how this works. Did you know that?
Yeah. Let me think. No, I think that was, pretty legit.
Feel good about it?
Yeah, I do.
Dude, if nothing else, I just want people to follow you. Because ever since I've been aware of you and your brother for a while. Abe was like, we had met at that cash flow conference, I think for the first time.
Uh-huh.
And Abe was telling me about you. So I went and followed all your stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it's just been it's cool to watch you go through the journey too, you know? So for anyone listening, go jump on. We'll tag all of Kaden's stuff on here. If you're younger, definitely look into the Winner's Circle. I think that, I mean, even my age or younger, go look into that. There's so much value there, especially if you were like me, like growing up in this little bubble and you didn't think that any of this stuff was obtainable or being around those people wasn't obtainable. Like, here's your chance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extremely affordable. Like when he says $200-$300, you got to understand, like, that's not a lot.
Yeah.
compared to other coaching programs.
Yeah. Like the $5,000 you pay for Arte.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's yearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So we're creating something that's affordable for the young hustlers to really be inspired by mentors that they look up to. So super stoked about it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go follow him when that comes public. Everyone should sign up. Do you know how many people you're going to cap it at?
We haven't decided yet. Probably around 50. So we started with 20, sold that out. So we'll probably start with about 50.
50 is still not a lot.
No, it's not.
You'll fill 50.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll see when we release it, you'll see videos and a whole website and everything. And if you have questions, like honestly, feel free to message me on Instagram. I love talking to young hustlers, helping them through different business problems they have, or even ideas that they want to work through. I'm all for that. My whole vision and goal is to help other young hustlers win in every single area of their life.
And that, look, following you for the short amount of time I have, that's genuine. Like it completely shows. And that's the biggest reason I wanted you to come in, dude, is just talk about that, because there's nothing fake about you. And I think it shows. And so, dude, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you got some more bins doing knockout tonight.
Yeah, dude, I got 10 of them.
I mean, it's 9:15 p.m. right now, and you're going to go knock out more. So
got to do it.
I love the hustle, dude. And I love, like, the people you're bringing together is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And where you feel like you are capable of doing that, to where, like you had said in the beginning, like, am I even okay? Like, should I even be doing this? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the gift that you have, dude. So keep doing it. I love everything you're doing. I love following it.
Appreciate it, man.
Anyway, dude, we'll tag everything. Everyone go follow Kaden. If you're still with us, appreciate you. Make sure you like, share. What's all the other stuff? Like, share, subscribe.
There you go.
And share the message, and go be a part of Kaden's social media, if not his inner circle. All right, man. Thanks for staying with us. This is episode 117, Kaden Terry. We'll see you guys next week. Boom.
Nice, dude. There we go.
Love it.
Smooth.